We got him. We got him, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Couz and Mountaineer Paul here to talk about the Mountaineers' big get out of the transfer portal, the one and only Kerr Kriisa. Paul, your thoughts, man?
You know, it's looked like we were going to land him for about a week now. I think the tea leaves are definitely reading that way. I think Jose Perez has left a couple of hints. With the jerseys and the Kerr Kriisa, I wonder if he has a hard time keeping it secret because
Yeah.
uh, he's let a couple things on Twitter here the last week or so that I was able to read into, or maybe it was just a coincidence. But um, this is a bigger portal signing than any signing we had last year, for sure. And I don't want to understate the signing of Eric Stevenson or any of those guys, Trey Mitchell, Joe, any of those guys. But Kerr Kriisa is a guy that, while defense is not his strong suit at this point in time, that's something he can grow into. He shoots a high percentage from three, and he can run an offense at an elite level. And that's something we just did not have last year. We struggled. We get bogged down in the half court. Sometimes we even struggled with the ball up the court. And turnovers were a big issue for this team. And the lack of turnovers were a big winning factor for this team. So anytime this team had a fewer turnovers, 10 or less, this team was in a good position to win. He's also a great free throw shooter, which happened to be another great part of the formula for us last year. So I think this is just Bob Huggins and the staff looking at what worked well for them last year and going out and get the best available player to do that.
Yep.
Pac-Man just said we've got some money now. Well, we must have some money now. You don't get the number one point guard in the portal without some money.
Right.
So, and I think that's what this is, and it's exciting.
What's up, Joey?
Hey, Joey.
Our heart's going out to you today, brother. We have a special show coming up, by the way, guys. Boy, if you get here in about 15 minutes or so, we're going to be live over on my channel to do a special memorial show, basically, for Golden Blue Dude. We're going to discuss what he meant to us. And Outlaw of College Football is going to be joining Paul and I because he's had an influence on all of us as content creators and as people. So just a quick reminder, and Joey and Golden Blue Dude were really close. So Joey, our prayers are with you today, man. But back to the topic at hand, I know Golden Blue Dude would want us to keep rolling with the content, man. So let's go. Just to give everybody an idea about Kerr Kriisa, those who may not be that familiar with him, I'm going to read his stats out real quick. First of all, he played at Arizona the last 3 seasons, only played in 8 games in the 2020-2021 year. I think that would have been the COVID year, right? So, and that would have been his freshman year. So he still has 2 years of eligibility, is my point. But this past season, he led the Pac-12 in assists with 5.1 a game. He averaged 9.9 points a game, shot 37.2% from the floor, and 36.6% from three. And one thing that has been consistent throughout his career, the 3 seasons he's played, he's shot 36.8, 33.6, and 36.6 from three. So he can bury the deep shot, the 3-point shot, which is something West Virginia needs, especially with Eric Stevenson leaving. We need another shooter, and we're getting one. So we're getting a guy that can not only drive and dish and move the ball. We're also getting a guy who can shoot the three well. And I think that's absolutely important. And with Kedrian Johnson leaving, who was our floor general last year, Kerr can take that role. And again, a much needed role that needed to be filled. And we got the best guy to do that in the portal right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, there are better scorers in the portal for sure. But in my opinion, the biggest thing this offensive lacked last year, while Kedrian Johnson was a good point guard, but he was not really distributed. He actually turned to a scorer at the end of his career, which if you'd have told me 2 years ago Kedrian Johnson was going to be a guy that can go out and get you 20 points in the game, I would have laughed at you because the jump he made in a scoring ability was significant. But he is not Kerr Kriisa. Kerr Kriisa has a chance to be a pro. And Kerr Kriisa is also, he's a 6'3" guy. He's lanky. I just, I seen a guy, Arizona people are really sour on Kerr Kriisa. I've seen it everywhere. They really buried this kid since he went in the transfer portal, and I just got to tell you, I'm not a fan of that at all. He gave you 3 years. It's a lot like West Virginia fans and Jarrett Dagey in that whole situation and how unbecoming that can look.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, whether or not you like Kerr Kriisa in Arizona, he gave you 3 years. And he wouldn't be rated as a 5-star number one point guard in the portal if he wasn't close to that. So that's what we're getting. And since you get some people are out there, we look at flight logs. Some people do all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, you look at some of the people he's followed on Instagram lately, and there's some big names out there, and I can't help but fantasize about what else this coaching staff has in store.
Yeah, I mean, look at the names that are in the portal right now. Dickinson from, I think it's Hunter Dickinson. Did I get that right? From Michigan.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we'll get him.
He's truly elite.
I'm not saying we'll get him, but man, if we could get Kriisa and Dickinson,
we'll have national championship odds.
Think about it.
Probably.
Kriisa, Dickinson, Perez, Mitchell,
still Severio,
and then you've got Toussaint coming off the bench, assuming he and Mitchell stay, obviously.
Yeah, and then whatever Mo turns into, and James another year.
Right. Blake Green makes a great point. This really frees Jose up to score the ball. I agree, because Jose can play point too, if he has to, but he's more of a score first guy. He likes to take shots in volumes, right? So you can move him off the ball, let him do his thing there, but yet if you need him to handle the ball, he can. And he's with that 6'5" height, he'll be able to see over people, which is always a good thing to have at the guard spot. We haven't really had that a lot in the last few years. We've had smaller guards, so it'll be good to have a guy. Taz was kind of an exception to that, but for the most part, we've had smaller guards. But Taz wasn't really a ball handler either. He was a catch and shoot guy.
Yeah.
And then Luke Bart says, wow, big time Brad Howell put numbers up that we were first before this. That's awesome. And for sure, keeping Golden Blue Dude and his family and everyone else close to my prayers. Yeah, thanks for the shout out for Golden Blue Dude, Luke. But yeah, Brad Howell, and I saw somebody, I think Ethan Bach as well, put up something on Twitter yesterday that West Virginia already had the number one ranked class in the transfer portal already. And that was before this move. So they were just counting Jose and Silverio.
Oh, yeah.
They were counting Jose as part of this year's class because, where he didn't play last year. So,
yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Jose's a really ball dominant player. He really is. So,
yeah.
I think this coaching staff is probably going to be careful. Now, a lot of people think John Hughley is going to have a good chance to play in Morgantown.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia was a finalist
yeah.
for him back in 2018 and 19 when he went to Pitt instead of West Virginia. And there's really been a sour exit with him in Pitt. So it wouldn't be surprised to see him flop and want to play against his old squad. This is a guy that can get you 15 and 10 as an elite big. And he's really efficient. And that was going to be my point. With a ball dominant player, Kriisa can be a little ball dominant at times too when he's in a scoring mode. So you're going to have to start figuring out a way to mix it up because Jose is extremely ball dominant, like I said. You're going to have to find somebody efficient that doesn't need a whole lot of touches down low that can score just so that the offense flows a little bit better. You don't need 2 or 3 ball dominant guys on the floor at the same time. Right. So I'm sure the coaching staff will get that done and be all over that. But just a point I wanted to make.
No, absolutely, I agree. And Hughley's a name I even forgot to mention earlier when I was listing off. I mentioned Dickinson. I forgot to mention Hughley, and they've got where they're looking at a kid from Marshall who's supposedly really good. Who I know very little about.
He's got a ways to go till he's elite, but yeah, he's good.
Yeah, it might take.
He just got to get his body right. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that may depend on who's coming back as to whether they actually sign him or how much they actually want him.
If we land Hughley, I think they'll probably start. I mean, you can never have enough really good players, and we've seen it with Kansas. I mean, you can have 4 or 5 what will probably be number one guys
Mhm.
in your starting lineup.
Right.
You can make it work, but how long can you make it work? Usually those guys leave in the offseason. So I think it's like you see a team like San Diego State this year who had a ton of experience. I mean, they had been playing together for a long time. And so you've got to try to land the right mix in today's day and age of really good players, but also role players that can fit a role in your team so that there's no transfers or very few in the offseason so that you can bring a lot of that core back. And I think the teams that figure out how to do that best will be the teams that make it further in March. You don't want to have to put a team together every year, especially out of the portal, because players come in with habits, hurts,
Mhm.
hangups, preconceived notions. It's not like out of high school when you can mold somebody.
Right.
And I think, so that's the thing about the portal. You've got to try to break all these habits and teach them your way. And it can probably be more difficult at times.
Yeah, I agree. Eric, and that's what Hugs talked about last year about how trying to mold all those guys together was not easy. Eric Flowers said, "Did we get the big from Pitt?" Or we're talking about the point guard from Arizona. We're talking about the point guard from Arizona. The big from Pitt is supposed to visit in about 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. And then Blake Green says we need to pick up an Emmett type player who can defend the first four positions on the perimeter. I do agree with that, um, and I'm sure Hugs will go find one. And then Braxton says, "Who do y'all think we land from the transfer portal except there?" I don't know, man. I mean, I don't want to get my hopes up, but I'd love to land Hughley, obviously, and a really, really long shot. I'd like to land Hunter Dickinson from Michigan, but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna get my hopes up on that one. I think Kriisa to me was probably the number one priority, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
So we got him. So well, guys, unless you got something else to say, we're going to jump over, guys, and we're going to have to end this one. I've got to jump over on my channel on Couz's Corner, and we're going to do a Golden Blue Duke tribute show with Paul, myself, and the Outlaw of College Football is supposed to join us as well. So we will see you over there, guys. Feel free to come join us if you can. If not, we'll catch you on the next show, guys. We're out.